All right. No, yep. Looks like everybody is here. So, yep, Edwin is there. It's good. It's for some reason my Twitter wasn't updating, but yeah, here we go. So yeah, let's go ahead and start with introductions. Since you already kind of kicked us off, Propbase, go ahead and give us a little introduction of yourself, a little bit of what you guys are doing, and then we'll just go around the block and get a little introduction about everybody. And we'll try to keep it small and simple. I love talking, and I could probably go into this for 2 or 3 hours, but I know we will not have enough time to get through this entire anime if we don't just kick it, really just be right on time with, and I love tangents. I love talking for hours on everything. So it's even my fault on it too. So I have to be, kind of on it too, guys. So let's just kind of keep it short and simple, and right to the point. I appreciate it, guys. Go ahead, Propbase.
Yeah, great. Well, thank you. We do have a pretty good lineup. I'd say, a lot of familiar, RWA companies, as well as, some great community members. So I'm Kevin, the CEO of Propbase. Propbase is a real estate tokenization platform. We're building on the Aptos blockchain. We're an investment marketplace, offering fractional ownership where users can come on, they can invest in a fraction of the property, and through our secondary marketplace, they can then trade those tokens to other Propbase users. So that's us in a nutshell. We're located in Southeast Asia, massive population. I'm specifically located here in Thailand. And, for us, myself, our leadership team, our backgrounds are entirely prop tech. So we're happy to be here, and we're happy to, discuss with RWA and trends. And it's nice seeing a lot of the not only the cryptocurrency communities and blockchain communities, but also just everyone else kind of look at how, blockchain is disrupting real world assets and how this is a growing trend, if not one of the most exciting trends in the space, specifically over the next few years. So thank you.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. I've been talking about it, like you're saying, to everybody in the real world more than I've actually talked about people in crypto about it, because this is a tangible way for real investors that have assets to be able to find new opportunities to gain an earning or just see a new investment opportunity for themselves. So no, definitely agree there. Let's go ahead and move over to Ellie. Let's get a little introduction from you.
Yeah, thanks very much, and thanks for having me. Really appreciate it, and to Blocksquare, of course. So my name is Eli Cohen. I'm General Counsel at Centrifuge. Centrifuge is a tokenization, securitization platform. We're one of the first, I think, that probably in the RWA space. We launched our first pools in 2001. We've got about 290 million TVL right now. The issuers, it's an issuer to investor sort of direct platform. And so issuers come and they have different types of securities, tokens that they create on the platform, mostly asset-backed securities. We have investment funds, some private credit, and we're excited to be here. The team is mostly based in Europe. I'm in Chicago in the US myself, but we've got an office in Berlin, and I've been out to Asia a couple of times, and I'll be out in Singapore for Token 2049 as well.
Excited, man. I love it. That's great. All right, Daniel, you want to give us a little introduction?
Yeah, thanks very much. Hi there, everybody. Yeah, my name's Daniel, and I head up risk at Blocksquare. For those of you that don't know, Blocksquare is a tokenization infrastructure provider for real estate. We currently provide infrastructure for 12 different marketplaces around the globe, and recently reached over 100 million in tokenized real estate. So that's a little bit about me and Blocksquare, and happy to be here.
Yeah, no, definitely excited. And, if you definitely don't know who Blocksquare is and what they're doing in the space, especially here, community members, please take the time, jump up there, click follow, get in depth in what they're doing. I love what Blocksquare's been doing. And so I'm definitely excited to have them here and hosting another wonderful AMA. So thank you again for coming, and thank you, Blocksquare, again for hosting this wonderful thing. Tony, let's get a little introduction from you.
Hey everyone, this is Tony Tong calling from Hong Kong. I'm based in Hong Kong and Southeast Asia. I've been traveling a lot in Vietnam and just came back from KL, Malaysia. I'm a co-founder with Hong Kong Blockchain Association and also with com2000.com and com2000.org. We are a Web3 incubator. Recently we've been approved for IPO listing, just approved by the US SEC. And we are also working on RWA and STO. In Hong Kong, one of our members of HKBA just received Hong Kong SFC's Type 1 STO license. So we have a bunch of assets from real estate, data center, shopping malls, to apartments, hotels, some in the U.S., in New York. The one in New York is about 150 million. New Jersey, next to New York. And we also have some properties owned by our various chairmen and investors in Hong Kong and Southeast Asia, such as data center and other vacation hotel resorts. So we hope to hear more about RWA and find some of the great tools to help us to execute. Thank you.
All right, thank you. No, it was my fault. Yeah, no, it was my fault. I clicked mute, but it didn't unmute. I started talking, and then I noticed that no one was. It was all blank in the air, so I was like, "Oh, I didn't unmute." But no, I appreciate it. And I actually love that. You being on the other side of the globe and still bringing value to the opposite side of the globe. I think that's one of the whole points of crypto itself is being able to inclusive all around the globe. And I think the hard work you guys are doing over in the United States is awesome because I'm here in the United States, and it is a hindrance to be in anything in crypto, but to see, great teams and great teams, build stuff that not only can be utilized for opportunities where they're at, but also on the more global stance, especially those here in the United States that are getting roadblocked out of a lot. So really appreciate that. And it looks like we had Brick, I think it's, I don't want to say it wrong. So let me get my notes up, Brickken up, but he had a connection issue and he got dropped. Do you want to raise your hand back up so we can get you back up here? And you can do a small introduction before we kick off the questions. I see you in the listening panel because you were up here speaking, but literally right before I came to you for an intro, you got kicked out. So if you raise your hand, we can get you back up here, Brickken, or Edwin, whoever was the actual one talking for, then whichever count works the best. Oh, there he goes. He's finally up. Yes. I know that sometimes it's weird like that. On my main account, I can't join half of the spaces, but on my work account, I can go to any space. It's weird. I don't understand. So I don't know. Maybe you're having connection issues, but it looks like your speaker mic is open. So whenever you're ready, just give us a little small introduction. We'd love to hear about it.
I gotta say that it was me, right? I'm having difficulties with the Twitter. It's breaking on and off. So sorry about that. I guess in my connection.
Yeah, no, don't apologize. We all have had plenty of pains with Twitter. There's times that it works flawlessly, and there's other times it's just like a flip of a coin. But I'm just glad you're here. And we better try to get your minute in while we can, right?
Absolutely. So thank you very much for having me. A lot of familiar faces or voices, at least, of course. My name is Edwin. I'm the CEO and founder of Brickken. We're a plug and play solution that got founded in 2020. And we are just an asset origination that allows people to go and onboard their assets, then distribute to their potential investors, and then manage whatever comes afterwards. So the digital assets, the treasuries. We have a lot of that kind of like end-to-end solution for tokenization of real world assets. And super excited to be here with all of you. Thank you very much for the invite.
Yeah, thank you. Short and simple and straight to the point. You guys have really killed it. We're really perfectly on time. So I'm definitely appreciate everybody, being on top of it and just really getting to it. And the value that we got from just those introductions was huge. Sometimes the longer introductions, you lose the real value by the time you finish it all. But now I'm really excited to jump into this, guys. And so with that being said, let's jump into my first question. And this is going to go towards Propbase over here at Kevin. This is how do blockchain technologies and tokenization specifically enhance transparency in the real estate transactions, and what barriers exist for their widespread adoption? I think it's kind of important to kind of really just get right into the depth of understanding the technology behind it.
Yeah, of course. I guess I love talking about it. And so thank you for the question. And, what I see is, really over the last, about 15 years in doing lots and lots of property transactions in the Web 2 space. Now with the emergence of smart contracts, since about 2021, and you really have a huge opportunity to really provide a next level of transparency within the actual, asset tokenization space itself. So, just broad, spectrum. What are the benefits of tokenizing assets? You really just have, an immutable record. Everything's on the blockchain. So that's definitely one of them. One of the aspects I always see in specific to Propbase that I like, and when we build decentralized infrastructure, is having that transparency where in our case, Propbase, you can see example, how many wallets own each property, how many tokens, of that property is specifically in each wallet, each user's wallet. And you can see all the history of the transactions and how many total holders are associated with that property. And that is in and of itself, the core fundamentals of blockchain. So while in more sophisticated markets like Europe or even in the United States, you do have a level of transparency, but in emerging markets, that's actually, quite hard to assess. So I actually see, lots of property transactions, not only property, but also just really everything, whether it's bonds, T-bills, equities, becoming tokenized over the next 5 to 10 years. Not only for the transparency side, but also just for the streamlined transaction process. So it's a lot easier to transfer tokens between one party to the next. You've got, various things associated with fraud reduction and then decentralization at its core. So, the way we tackled the market specifically in our protocol was, not only to provide transparency under the ownership, but also to provide transparency into the underlying asset of itself. So we incorporate IPFS directly as the hash associated with the underlying documentation, such as the title deeds, the supporting documentation, such as property management, and everything is secured within the actual token that is deployed, which represents the underlying equity in the asset. And so there in and of itself, I think you've kind of have a revolution where now all of a sudden you have a real world asset. It's, on the blockchain, all of the data from its inception coming on chain is traceable. All of the supporting documents are also verifiable in a decentralized manner. And so that's quite good. I see, in addition to that, it's more transparent, not only from a user or an investor perspective, but also from a regulatory landscape. So you have, getting away from things like, title offices where everything's, transacted on paper. Now it being on the blockchain, should title disputes happen in the future, then you actually have something to point to, which can be a de facto kind of point of solution for any resolution over the next 5-10 years. And I think that's interesting. So I think the benefits outweigh a lot of the risks. And I think when the second part of your question is really about adoption, right? So, and I think it's a lot of platforms are innovating in the space in RWA, not only property, but it is really to position blockchain. And I was just with my entire technical team. We did a kind of a group getaway for about a day and a half. And we actually talked about, what are the barriers to widespread adoption? And I think that is, really making blockchain, and smart contracts, a part of the back end technology, as where from a front end perspective, the user might not be as sophisticated to set up a wallet, to remember their passphrases. And so really when you want to approach wide scale adoption, I think having a front end UI UX that is backed by blockchain, but also doesn't necessarily require so much interaction onto wallet integrations and all of the complexities associated with Web3. I think that's the problem that we are definitely tackling. And I know a lot of other platforms out there are doing the same. So keeping the user experience, easy, simple, with a lot of, our platforms around the world in RWA, they're permissioned blockchains, right? So you have the ability to mint, freeze, issue new tokens. So I think that is a big benefit, and that can help the end user. Whether that user is a sophisticated investor or a small fund, nobody really wants to take a lot of risk associated with losing your underlying tokens, which have a large impact on, your balance sheet. And so I think that keeping blockchain in and of itself is a back-end infrastructure and the user front end, largely simple and simplistic to use is how you begin to scale. And that's how we approach it. And I think that's how a lot of platforms are approaching it in a similar way. But I'm also going to say it's important just to bring great assets on chain. So we specifically focus on the tokenization of hotels and resorts. These hotels and resorts are managed by globally renowned brands. So in our case, it's Pullman, it's Wyndham, it's Ramada. A lot of people didn't have access to these type of investment properties before. These type of investment properties are generally perform higher than residential properties. And so now through platforms like us, and I'm sure some other platforms around the world, having access to these investment opportunities, and then having the confidence that they're managed correctly, where participants don't need to be so involved in, say, property management or tenant management, is key. So it really is a form of passive income, and access to more attractive assets. And as long as these assets have a global appeal, I think that's what's going to be driving user adoption. And so that's our focus. Obviously, we're biased because we're located in Thailand. Sunny Thailand is, a booming tourism industry. You've got hotels operating at 95% occupancy. And so, and for the foreseeable future, we see this growth. So that's my take on the aspect. And I hope I answered your question.
No, you definitely answered it. And like I was saying, the value we get from just listening in on you guys speak, regardless if it's a little off topic or not, is huge, because I didn't even realize, like the hotel industry, like when I was thinking RWAs and investment, and that in alone is huge. Not only are you investing in, like, if it's an early, hotel or motel or whatever you're doing, and you're getting that ground floor, but then, like you're saying, the residual on that is continuously forever, especially if you are places like Vegas or high tourist places in Asia or Mexico, where, there's just, like you're saying, all year long, 95% occupancy. There's a great opportunity there that is a value that is definitely don't want to be missed. But that kind of leads me into a little question I had there. And it's to, how do you address the common concern of the actual valuation as time goes by? So having all the transparent data is there, but then you also have to make sure that the price or the valuation of X property is always either, in real time delivered to the investor so they can make a proper, whatever they're going to do with the profile. I'm not too big on investments yet.
Yeah.
I'm still trying to get into it myself. So I don't know all the terms yet. I'm still trying to get into,
I'll summarize. I mean, I can speak to specifically what we do, but, so we source properties. We leverage our platform, our community, our investment base to negotiate, and to, attract the best possible price. Obviously, this is validated by third-party valuation and appraisal managers and entities. We usually work with, the LIBC top companies. So you've got the CBREs, which I'm sure you're familiar with. You've got the Colliers. So we first basically look to see if this is a property we would invest in. So we in and of ourselves are a marketplace, so we do not own the properties prior to them coming on chain. We do invest in them ourselves. So, I think that's key. Also, we look at investment properties, and a lot of people are interested in a form of passive income where the yield generated from the underlying asset, while it can't be guaranteed, there needs to be a solid track record of performance. So we're tokenizing a hotel now, which is managed under Wyndham, which completed in 2021. It has 3 years of fully audited P&L statements. So these are the type of things that we look at. And then, going forward, what do we see is the next 5 years? So we like to be in areas where we think there's growth. And this again is, specific to us, right? So we see, the Thailand Ministry of Tourism here is projected, about 80 million tourists. That's coming up from 40 million tourists, which is going to be about this year. The rebound post-COVID was phenomenal. I think in 2019 they hit 40 million, so you have almost 100% rebound. And you know, they're building out the infrastructure such as airport renovations, everything in order to handle these inbound tourists. And you know, unfortunately you can't build hotels that fast. It takes usually 2 to 3 years. And so we see this area as being, you know, one of the best types of asset classes within our specific region. And I think that kind of goes also for probably a few other countries, Vietnam. I know somebody mentioned Vietnam on the call, but yeah, and to really make sure that the yield versus the asset valuation is attractive, to make sure that the asset's properly managed, and to make sure that prior to coming on chain, the price and the valuation is authenticated and remediated through third parties. And so we like to see that as well. And you know, while we're experts in the space, we always seek out expert opinions, and that's basically how we come to a collective kind of decision. And then on top of that, it really goes through a tokenization process. So our investor base also has to come to the same conclusion. So you kind of have this hive mind aspect that, you know, bringing the asset on chain, obviously there's going to be a premium to it after it's tokenized. But to try and, gain the best possible price in terms of, before it comes on chain, and to do everything and to look at the history of the asset, to look at, you know, the industry and where it's going. And the key for tokenizing real world assets, probably specific to real estate, is to reduce the underlying liability with that specific asset. So nothing to do with liens on titles. As mentioned, we don't focus so much on like houses and that kind of stuff. So to reduce the exposure, and we work with, often publicly traded or property developers who've been in business for 25 years. And so that also brings another level of confidence, to the types of assets that we bring on. And as mentioned, you know, they're hotels, right? So they're managed very effectively. I was over at Wyndham Hotel just yesterday, super busy, but you know, it's a great asset class. And I think that is really what brings in the Web 2 space, the global adoption, obviously the key is to get those assets at a discount prior to them becoming, you know, tokenized, and then to have investors have the benefits of the premium once then the asset is tokenized and on chain.
No, that's awesome. No, I appreciate the breakdown, understanding. So everybody here, please follow all the speakers, but especially get up there and follow what Propbase is doing and see, you know, if there's value you can see within their ecosystem for your portfolio. I think that's awesome. I love what you guys are doing. For the conscious of time, I better move on because I have more comments that I can go on about that, but maybe I'll just have to talk with you and your team in your guys' Telegram or Discord and just continue because I love what you guys are doing. So that's awesome. That's great to, you know, to kind of hear the different outlook on what you guys are focusing on and what you believe are the pain points for, you know, investors and community members alone trying to utilize your ecosystem. So that's really cool. Appreciate it. Great answers. This kind of moves me on to one of my favorite questions. This is going to be over for you, Daniel. And this has to do with, you know, considering the various regulatory landscapes, what steps can be taken to harmonize transparency efforts across jurisdictions for RWAs, especially for real estate and infrastructure, you know, coming on to the ecosystem?
Yeah, sure. Thanks a lot for the question. So this is a question and an area that's really been very central to Blocksquare. And it centers around not only trying to meet minimum regulatory requirements across different spaces, but also underpinned by the statement that if you enhance the technological infrastructure that people use to invest in property, you also have to enhance the tools and analytics that they have available to them to make decisions, to make the right decisions. Just as you would have lots of different analytical tools available to you when investing in stocks. We believe it's critical that people also have that same clear line of sight to the underpinning asset when investing in fractionalized real estate. So There's lots that can be done to really address this, and lots that we're doing to address this, particularly when you're a provider covering multiple landscapes, geographies, and so on. It's important to have a way that can apply to the varying different markets. So yeah, ensuring that you've got a clear line of sight to the property and the different components of risk of the property is core. So that's been the premise of the build out of Tokalytics, which is a analytical tool under Blocksquare, which will allow for over 100 different data points to be collected on a property, regardless of the geographical location. We're then able to boil those data points down into 7 encompassing risk categories, which then produce over 50 different metrics. And then off the back of that, also 20 comprehensive risk ratings on those. So from that, we're able to provide analytics to investors on any property in any segment or location, where it will provide the basis for individual investors to be able to do their due diligence on the underlying assets. And this also sort of goes back to the question that you asked, Kevin, about valuations. Now, core to getting the right data on chain is ensuring that you have comprehensive valuation reports done. These in Web 2 and in the traditional industry are typically based on a RIC certified valuation, so a Royal Institute of Chartered Surveyors valuation. Now, these are core and will underpin the valuations that are brought on chain. But I think some of the developments we're going to see as the tokenization of real estate progresses is that the formula and the basis of RIC certified valuations don't necessarily encompass everything that needs to be considered when we're looking at tokenized real estate. For example, valuers value real estate in the same way pretty much that bonds are valued, using the discounted cash flow method. And the risk premium in that formula factors in the different risk categories of the property. However, when we're bringing property on chain and we're fractionalizing it, those same risk factors don't remain constant. There are additional ones that are brought in, for example, debt, ownership complexity, and so on, which aren't factored in to a typical Web 2 valuation, because these are not factors that will be passed on to the new owner when it's sold in whole. So it's really important that we take the time to understand what additional risk characteristics are going to be arising in that property just because of the use of a new technology and a new way of investing. So on that basis, I think we're going to see some really interesting developments in the market where potential risk categories which were not once considered within the formula are starting to be introduced to ensure that risk premium in the in the formula is accurately valuing the risks associated with the property. Now this can be done on a globally standardized way. Of course, markets differ depending on the location and the specifics for that location, but it's possible to apply a standardized methodology to that. So that's something that we're working really, really hard on. Yeah.
No, I definitely agree. I think it's a huge undertaking that you guys are going to be taking on your belt, but I think it's one that's needed, especially for the whole global to be able to have this as their value. So I appreciate it. The great answers. Obviously, it's very sticky, and you can only do so much answering that question because of the regulatory landscape across these different countries are a different battle on itself. So I really appreciate it, and that's definitely transparent and open to understand the hard work you guys are doing. With that being said, let's move over to another really great question. This is for Edwin. Can you discuss and this is something that I think is a really good question to kind of understand, some of the hard pains and work you guys have been doing in the background, but also the fruit from it. And that is, can you give us some case studies of where transparency in RWAs has led to tangible improvements in investment outcome, or at least community impact for the overall, community that you guys are building over there? It looks like he dropped out. So we'll circle back to that question and we'll move over to Tony And then once Brickken gets back in, his connection issues, it seems like it's just plaguing him, which is kind of a shame because that's a really good question I really want to dive into. But let's move over to Tony and get into this question while we wait for Brickken to get back connected. And that is, how is the current landscape for RWAs in the Asian region, particularly in Hong Kong, and how are the regulators welcoming the new tokenization opportunities? I think it's a really great question, especially to pick on the brain of somebody that's actually working with over there. I know that the Asian investment market has been exploding lately, so I'd love to pick your brain on it, Tony.
Well, thank you. I think you all have heard that Hong Kong, from the chief executive of Hong Kong to the financial secretary, they've all been promoting Hong Kong as the new, crypto and virtual asset management mega hub in the world. So a few months ago, our SFC came to our event because one of our member companies received the first RWA STO license in Hong Kong issued by the SFC. It's called a Type 1 license. So we can actually legally introduce and launch RWA STO assets as approved by the Hong Kong regulator. And I think for most of the Hong Kong people, as well as most of the Chinese people, Asian people, they are familiar with brick and mortar. For many years, Chinese or Asians, they only, when they have money, they just save money and then buy real estate. And so 5 years ago, when you tell people about crypto, most people say that, oh, we're just real estate investors. But over the last 2-3 years, we've seen that a lot of people have taken a lot of losses in real estate investment because of the huge real estate bubble in China. So right now we have the new wave of investors who are more interested in combining virtual assets and real estate. They're looking at new forms of investment products. And also after what we went through with FTX, actually was founded right here in Hong Kong, and people are more aware of what are the assets backing the platform or backing the token. So I think that RWA and security tokens will be more suitable for the Hong Kong investors, and I think that our government is also very pro RWA and STO, as I think the SFC, they see that a lot of these Hong Kong institutional investors, retail investors, family offices, they all are familiar with real estate investment. And so Hong Kong could become a very popular place for RWA and STO assets. So the Hong Kong also launched a couple of RWAs. I know that there's a building, shopping mall, that's gone through the tokenization RWA. So I think the market is good. The regulation framework is welcoming. I think the government also has good supports. But I do have a question for you guys. Say we do have assets. I know a lot of the landlords, real estate developers, they have developed shopping malls and parking lots and data centers, and they want to sell it. They want to tokenize it and sell it. How would you guys help us to get the buyers and get the market makers and create an active market? Because I thought because in Hong Kong this is all very new.
You hear that right now, a little bit of alpha from Tony, guys. If you guys are looking to expand and grow your guys' RWA standing, Hong Kong is ready and willing to open up the doors. I think that's really huge. I think that's really cool. And, I definitely agree with a lot that you're saying there. And the way you guys have positioned yourself to kind of almost help bridge the adoption level of these real estate investors to see new opportunities. And then in turn, as they see these opportunities and they gain, investment opportunities, they're going to want to kind of dive more into the blockchain itself and kind of possibly get away from just SEOs and get more into more digital assets on the blockchain. So I think that, what you guys are doing there is huge, especially how early Hong Kong, and that entire region is overall in these investment opportunities. I think it's a huge opportunity. So you guys should be talking, collaborating. It'd be a huge opportunity for, some of you guys to be able to get value from the Hong Kong people. I think that's wonderful. I think that's a great idea, and I love that little kind of question or comment you put out there. That it just opens the door for a lot of collaboration. I believe that's kind of the heart of crypto, because we are so early that the best way to grow and scale and to have more people coming is for us. Legit builders constantly working together to bring value for everybody, not just, siloed individuals. So with that being said, it looks like Brickken is still not back. I hope he can fix his issues. I don't know if it's an internet issue or just Elon being mean to him. So I'm going to go ahead and move over to my last question I had prepared for the speakers, and that is for Ellie, and that is, how does blockchain technology enhance or improve investors' protection for security token offerings? Sorry.
Yeah, thank you very much. So, maybe I'll give you just a little bit of context first. So, at Centrifuge, we started, as I said, back in 2021 with some smaller pools of asset-backed securities. And the principal investor that we had at that time and still have today is MakerDAO. So Centrifuge is really designed for the DeFi community, for the DAOs and the DeFi treasuries to be able to access real-world assets in tokenized form using stablecoins as investments, so that they don't have to go out into the TradFi markets and open brokerage accounts or bank accounts, which it's very hard, of course, for a DAO to do. So we designed Centrifuge, really designed for the DeFi community, and it's a DAO-run protocol, so it makes sense for the DAOs to come to us and support decentralization. They understand that, and we understand the way that they operate as well. So when Maker came to us in 2021 and did their first RWA investments, we then spent the next year or so with them. I did with their lawyers to develop a lot more, investor protection bells and whistles that you might see in a traditional finance asset-backed security deals. So we implemented access by a trustee into the underlying assets and a verification agent. So this gets back to one of your first questions, which is, how do you value the underlying assets? And so for the asset-backed securities deals that we have on our platform, we have a verification agent, so a third-party independent agent that checks the underlying assets before they come onto the platform. So when they come onto the platform, we create, or the issuer creates, an NFT which represents each of the underlying assets, and so that has a valuation attached to it. It's got the information attached to it, just quite a bit like Kevin was telling us in Propbase, and then all the investors can see. They can see each asset as it comes in. When does it come due? What did it get paid? Did it not get paid? Did the valuation change? Was there a write down? The issuers control that, but it's real-time information for the investors themselves. And for the DAOs who are used to operating in a blockchain environment, they want to see everything on a dashboard like that. So we've got now on the platform around 220 million of MakerDAO investments in private credit, in fix and flip real estate, asset-backed securities. We also then, in the course of last year, have launched a new service for investment funds. So we've got two British Virgin Island regulated professional funds that have launched tokenized shares onto the platform. And again, the target audience there is also the DAOs and the DeFi communities, the DeFi treasury. So Gnosis DAO has made a substantial investment in one of those pools, which is a liquid treasuries pool, so tokenized treasuries, which of course is sort of the big thing right now among the different DAOs and DeFi communities. We have a tokenized treasury pool on our platform called Anemoy Liquid Treasury Fund, which again, as I said, is a regulated fund in the British Virgin Islands. So we work with a lot of different issuers in different jurisdictions. Hopefully we're working with a couple out in APAC at the moment, and we would love to see those get launched. And each one is a little bit different, in terms of valuations. So the underlying treasuries, of course, are public securities. So there you can see the valuations issued by the Treasury Department in the U.S. on a daily basis, and that information gets updated on our system every day. So that you can again see a real-time valuation of the net asset value for the tokenized fund on the platform. So we find that that's a very good way for investors to be able to check the underlying assets of the investments they've got, and therefore they have a much better sense as to whether there's a problem or not a problem with the underlying assets. So hopefully that answers the question.
No, that was great. And I think that not only does it all the value that you get from the dashboard, but it also is the transparency side also educates people, right? Because like I know me myself, if I had a great dashboard with a lot of information, I'm going to read it, and then I'm also going to try to understand it and try to see different areas in it that I can get my value, or I can see where I'm going to put my investments in. I think that's huge, and I love what you guys are doing. And I'm actually very familiar with Centrifuge. I've been following you guys for a little while. So to have you guys here and see what you guys are doing, that's huge. And I mean, I obviously have a lot of work to do. I know that the little pre-bull run that we had me so busy that I haven't been able to catch up on some of these great projects that I've been following for a while. So just really good to see the value you guys have been doing and the hard work you guys have been doing. It's awesome. And I can't wait to kind of deep dive more into your guys' ecosystems today. Now that I have a little bit more time, I'm going to be definitely seeing if I can get some more RWA investments going. But that's huge. I really do appreciate it. Very transparent, very open, and a good understanding of what you guys are doing over there. It looks like Brickken had some technical issues. So I'm going to go ahead and ask the question, and maybe Daniel can jump on here and give us a little bit of clarity behind it. Or kind of from the Blocksquare side of things, seeing that Brickken can't get up here, but it's still a really great question to ask any of you RWA people. So even if Daniel, if you want to answer it, if you don't have the huge answer on it, maybe someone else like Propbase will be able to jump in and give a little context to it also to add value. But that is, can you discuss some of the successful use cases where transparency in RWAs led to a tangible improvement in the investment outcome or in community outcome?
Yeah, sure. I'll give that a go. So I'll bring it back to Tokalytics. I think, as I said, it was really core. It was a really core proposition for us to ensure that investors have a clear line of sight to the asset that they're investing in. And we're proud to say that we've began the rollout of Tokalytics reports to our marketplace operators as a service, so that these reports can be produced for the listings that are going to be live on their marketplaces, and so that investors then have access to a lot of different core analytics that they would need. For example, these reports include macroeconomic data for the specific country, like inflation, GDP, interest rates, and so on, unemployment, asset valuation, tenure and tenancy, ownership structure and equity, debt, depreciation, and so on. So what we're seeing from the production and rollout of these reports is that investors are going to be a lot more informed. There's going to be a huge amount more of transparency when it comes to the specifics around the risks of properties. We're hoping that that's going to lead to a real tangible improvement in people being able to take informed decisions.
I definitely agree right there. And then, like I was saying, it's going to educate people on stuff within these other countries. You never know what kind of opportunity they're going to be able to build out from that. That's awesome. I didn't know if anybody else wanted to touch on a little bit about that. There's a lot that's been going on. Like you guys have been building since 21, 22. So there's definitely been some really good use cases, or milestones that you guys have met due to being as transparent as you guys are. Anybody want to touch on that?
I'll touch on that because Helicon, I mean, first, I'm a super big fan of Centrifuge. And I think, the topic today is about transparency, but what we've been talking about for the last, few minutes here is data, right? So, in bringing assets on chain, all of a sudden you have, real-time data. So Helicon was mentioning, updates every 24 hours. When I was in Hong Kong in April, I was talking to a few investment funds but largely focused in real estate investment. And they were only really doing appraisals of about a third of their portfolio per year, which means their entire portfolio would take, 3 years in order to have the right correction and valuation mechanisms. And now through blockchain tokenization, we're talking about, every 24 hours. And so I think that's probably, one of the biggest benefits is just the real-time update of data, and doing so transparently. And specifically, if you can, realize that data through smart contracts on a regular basis, such as daily or even down to the minute. I know that we're all familiar with blockchain. I mean, if we can do it in 24 hours, we can do it every 10 minutes. And so I think that is, I've done a few AMAs related to data, but that is probably one of the most exciting points, I think, for bringing assets on chain and really exciting for real estate assets, especially right now in New York, you've got concerns around commercial real estate. So, once those funds begin to revalue their portfolios, you have these, huge unexpected market, changes in price. And so that's, I think going to change as more people lead to tokenization as a more transparent form, just simply because the data coming in is just so much more, regular, and realized in a smaller time frame. And that kind of, goes with the market trends in a real time basis. So we don't have these, quarterly reports or annual reports that, shock people's, confidence, in investing in assets that are not on chain.
I definitely do agree with a lot there. That was actually some really good value behind it, understanding it, the transparency side of it, the data side of it, everything that allows for, the kind of the whole idea of what we were talking about, understanding your investment opportunities, but also finding that investment opportunities within, the RWAs, because there's so many offerings out there. You need to be able to make sure you're giving the data in the hand of the people to make informed decisions. So I think you guys are all kind of doing the correct way, all hitting it, the infrastructure, the way it needs to be built up, and giving a lot of people opportunity to invest, I think is huge. But also, like we were saying about the investors not knowing full evaluation of the real estate, that's another value that's also very cost effective about RWA infrastructure here, is it allows these people to get actual current value of their property without having to pay a whole nother service to constantly keep it updated themselves. That's for Web2 investors, that's a very expensive thing to have done on a regular basis. So being able to have blockchain kind of facilitate all that in the background and constantly have that updated and transparent on a dashboard for people to see is huge, not only for your community investors, but for the people that own the RWAs itself, or the people that are coming and bringing them onto the platform. So that's really huge. Now, this was great. I love the answers. This was a great AMA, huge amount of education here. I learned a lot about what you guys are building, but we got about 10 minutes to the top of the hour, and I would love to give you guys a few minutes for any closing statements, last remarks, call to action, anything you want to speak about as we do the outro of today's AMA. With that being said, I'll go ahead and start with Ellie. Go ahead and give us a little outro. And then we'll move on and we'll go side by side, and then we'll give a little outro for myself, and then that'll be the AMA. And I really do appreciate you guys coming, and I can't wait till the next one. This was huge.
Okay. Yeah, sure. I mean, I guess from my perspective, a good call to action would be to participate in your DAOs. I mean, if you hold governance tokens, if you hold utility tokens, check out what's happening in the DAOs and push them to the RWA space. There's a lot of great investments out there in RWA. The DAOs have a lot of money in their treasuries that is allocated mostly to different DeFi protocols, and they really need to balance their portfolios out, and RWA is the perfect way to do it. So, there's a lot of different proposals out in a lot of different DAOs right now to get into the RWA space, and the risk management techniques that they're using are very different than what they had a year ago, 2 years ago. They've got expert committees, they have investment manager committees, they have a number of different resources available to them to make sure they're making the right investments. So, do your own research, of course, as always in crypto, but, participate in the DAOs, because I think that's really, where we're going to be able to move this forward, at least in the near term.
I agree. Let's go, man. I appreciate that. That was a great outro. Daniel, you want to give us a small outro?
Yeah. Well, I'll just start by echoing what Kevin said. That's a really good call to action. Get out there, research the different projects that are out there. That everyone's doing amazing things. Participate in your DAO. That's really it for me. I'll just say that I've seen a few people try to follow me here on X. It's not a platform I use currently, so feel free to reach out via LinkedIn or directly through Blocksquare if you want to have a chat about everything. And thanks for a great AMA.
No, that was awesome. I really appreciate having you here. I think risk management is huge, and I love what Blocksquare's been doing. So just being here and hearing you guys talk and what you guys are doing in the background just gets me a little bit more education and gets me more bullish on everything RWA. So let's go ahead and get a little closing statement from you, Tony.
What's the question? Sorry.
Oh, no, you're fine. We're getting close to the top of the hour, so we're just doing last minute call to actions, closing statements. Anything you want to say to the community before we close things out today?
Okay, well, I'd like to learn more about the various technology solutions. So as I said earlier, we have a few projects from New York, from the US to Hong Kong to Southeast Asia, like KL, Malaysia, Vietnam, some good assets, and we are looking for good technical solutions. So let's have some follow-up calls. And if you guys are in Hong Kong, let's catch up. I'm based in Hong Kong a lot, but I'm also spending quite a bit of time in KL, Malaysia, in Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam, as well as Bangkok. So we'll catch up.
Yes, the builders, anybody that has value, that want to bring more value to the ecosystem, please reach out to Tony. He's offering his hand. Let's see great things being built. I think that's wonderful. That's a great call to action right there, because I foster that partnership and growth and collaboration as much as I can. So please, you guys stay in touch. Let's collaborate. Let's make this a global RWA, a real stable point in the ecosystem for here. And as the bear market comes, because like I was saying, I think a couple weeks ago, I think the RWA is going to be the underlying strength of holding up our ecosystem as we get into the bear run. But that's another story for another time. Let's go ahead and get Propbase. Let's get the little closing statement from you.
Yeah, thanks. This is a good one. I'll probably start with, just thanks to all the listeners out there. So I see tons of our, Propbase community members in the crowd. I mean, if I had to say, I'd say the builders in RWA are fantastic people. Not only transparency in terms of how we're tokenizing assets, but we have transparent communities. We do the best we can do in order to inform communities of upcoming news, such as, DAO proposals or launch events. So I think it's, all the listeners in the crowd. I mean, you guys are out there, you're researching the best projects. RWA, in my opinion, has the best builders. I know, Dennis and Julia from Blocksquare, were so supportive of Propbase in the early days, and, inviting us to this AMA has, been phenomenal. It is just great people in the space trying to make an impactful difference and using blockchain and smart contract functionality in the way it's designed, which is the redundancy of small administrative tasks, enhancing transparency, updating, correlating data. I mean, we're doing everything that we need in order to really disrupt these massive asset classes. And I think that it's, nice to see some recent news. We had BlackRock set up Buildo Fund. You've got a huge amounts of interest compared to, a year ago when the RWA hashtag didn't exist. And, people would second guess the value proposition, but you had, builders out there contributing, continuing to launch products. And so I think, in the space, RWA has the best people. It also has the best communities. And, I see this as really being the time for RWA over this next bull run, over the next few years. And it really doesn't stop there. I see this as, the benefits greatly outweigh the risk. And I see that the space is innovating so fast. And it's just nice to be here with you guys, doing AMAs, sharing how we're approaching the market, sharing what other people are doing, and educating people on, the value proposition. And I just think, as consumers, they're always looking for something new. They're always looking for something simpler. And I think that, within the space, we're trying to do the best we can do in the fastest possible speed, and try and make an impactful kind of, contribution to bringing new innovative products to the market and doing so in a compliant and secure manner. So yeah, thanks to the community. Thanks to all the other speakers. And, this was a great one.
No, it was awesome. And I definitely agree there. What you guys are doing and what the RWA space alone is doing is huge for the overall sentiment of the ecosystem. I will say, you know, you don't go into an RWA and there's a bunch of FUD everywhere and everything. Like, it's definitely great to have that different side of the ecosystem finally being redeveloped and re-fostered, and that growth side of it. Because, you know, we all know what's going on in space. I don't want to go into that, but, you know, I definitely love that. And I will agree, you know, RWAs are being, was like basically like Rome, being built many years before it was ever coined Rome or RWA. And then eventually a lot of Blocksquare, Propbase, and a lot of other great community Centrifuge, came together to build what we have now, and the continuation of what we're having now as infrastructure continually grows and new technology for it is developed. You know, I definitely agree overall the RWA space, you know, in its whole sense infancy has been great, and seeing it grow and seeing, you know, the mass value come. And like you're saying, a lot of people want to just come into the new. Like, that FOMO is real. It doesn't matter what part of the ecosystem you're a part of. If you get the FOMO, you jump in it. And I know that I had FOMO right in the beginning of RWA space, and so, like, I mean, and then it continues to have it. You know, that's technology growth. So with that being said, I definitely agree. This was an awesome AMA, highly educational. I hope people really took in a lot of information. And then if you didn't, and you still have questions, or you still want to know more, or if you didn't find where you can see how you can fit within the ecosystem with your portfolio, please jump in these guys' socials, follow these guys, and start asking questions. Be a part of the community. And hands down, like I always say, the best way to learn something is to just go try it out. Go check out their ecosystem. Go check out their website. See how easy it is to navigate, and possibly see some good investment opportunities for you within their ecosystems. And on top of that, you never know what kind of friendships and community that you can be a part of, that you might grow within that space. And ultimately, I need to make sure everybody here, it says thank you and appreciation to the Blocksquare to be able to host these, be able to have me come on and talk about stuff with all you, literally, like I would say, world-class professionals building stuff in the ecosystem that is needed. So I really do appreciate it. Thank you guys all for coming here. And like you're saying, especially the community, thank you guys for sitting here and listening to us talk for an hour about technology, about the future of RWAs and the blockchain. So with that being said, it is the top of the hour. I really do appreciate you guys all being here. And until next time, Blocksquare, you guys do great, and continue to do great. All you guys builders and speaker panelists up here, you guys continually build and do great. And for the community members, please always do your research and stay safe in the space. I'll see you guys later.
Thanks. Yeah.
See you guys. Bye.
Thank you. See you guys.